Hello and welcome on Watches TV, and we have the pleasure of being on the Lange Söhne booth. Obviously one of my favorite, but let's be more objective than this.
Don't.
Okay,
No,
well,
you have no reason to.
okay. So we're going to talk in the second stage about some of the really nice timepieces that were presented by you. But first of all, I mean, it's been a long time we haven't seen each other, so it's just first nice pleasure.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the last time was January 2019, and then just before we would have met again, the whole thing happens. Great to be back.
Yes, shabam. So how did you go through this strange period?
Well, as we all, we were surprised in the beginning. It gave us time to refocus, to see what we have, to see what we missed, to see how we can substitute. And then after 3 months of learning and trying, we just went through and we pulled through. And I think it's been a great year.
Okay. So creatively, I mean, it didn't stop anything, any momentum on your side?
I mean, if you in 10 years go back and try to find when COVID took place by numbering the launches or the new watches that we launched a year, I don't think you will recognize this period of time because, we launched in both years exactly what we had planned to launch, which is quite natural. If you work for years on something, you just don't move it.
And you took a little bit of a sportier direction, obviously, with the arrival of the Odysseus. And talking about this one, okay, only. I mean, the reception initially was a bit so-and-so, but then it just started booming like crazy.
What I always say is, one may not like the design of a watch.
Which is fine.
We're also not there. That's not a watch for everybody because we would be unable to deliver on that demand anyhow. What I always would fight for is it is an Lange Söhne through and through. The movement, the finishes, the amount of love to detail that goes into it. There's no difference between the Odysseus and let's take the Lange one as the other, the longest model that watch that we have in our current product range. There's no difference. What it does though for us, it helps us to. It's our playing ground. That's where you can become really creative without diluting what a lot of customers really want from us. So, and I think this year is quite nice. The Richard Lange minute repeater. How can a watch be more classical than this one? And then the titanium. That's something you wouldn't expect from us, and that's what I like.
And did it help you kind of expand the customer base? Do you have new people being interested now in Lange?
Well, and I get that feedback from all our boutiques around the world. So people come and they want the Odysseus, and of course they can't get it because we are in so short supply. And the watch originally was there to serve our loyal customers. So you come as a new customer, you want the watch, you can't get it, but very suddenly you generate an interest in Lange Söhne. So they don't ask for Odysseus and leave the shop. They go and say, look, then let's have a look to the Lange one. Let's have a look to the 1815 up and down, the Saxonia thin. And quite regularly, people come with the desire to buy an Odysseus because that's what they know. Then they realize the whole spectrum of Lange Söhne, and they end up loving us for a different reason.
That's a very good reason.
Not
very good
complaining.
excuse. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
In terms of how you work, in terms of the team present in Glashütte, has this expanded to support indeed this nice development?
It's impossible, very easy. At the end, hands will assemble these watches. It's not a robot, it's not a machine, and hands will finish all the little parts. And our potential to grow is determined by our capability to train fresh people. And there's a limit to it. We will again produce about 5,500 watches, and that's not determined by demand, that is our capacity. And that's why I also can't shift resources from, let's say, the Lange 1 to the Odysseus, because that's, from a watchmaking point of view, that's probably on par, because I also don't have enough Lange 1s. It's moving a gap around, and that doesn't make a lot of sense.
So we're here with our good friend Anthony de Haas, and we're going to talk about some of the new watches that you've presented. And let's start immediately with something all the way up there with your new minute repeater.
Yeah, and we're now in the third day of the watches, and I really have to get used to the. I keep on saying watches and wonders, and we got the first feedback of the collectors, and they say, yeah, finally a classical minute repeater, because after 2013 the Grand Complication, Grande Sonnerie, Petite Sonnerie, integrated minute repeater, technical beast, bit
for sure.
And then 2 years later, the element of surprise. I think at that point everybody already expected or maybe hoped for the classical repeater, what made sense. But of course we didn't do that, because why should you do things which make sense? So we did the Zeitwerk minute repeater, which is a decimal repeater. And now guys came over, the Richard Lange minute repeater. Really a classical, dedicated complication in a simple watch,
Well, kind of simple.
And it's it's a dress watch. It's 39 millimeters and only 9.7 millimeters thick or thin, maybe.
Yes.
And platinum case.
Yes.
You know my opinion about platinum cases for minute repeaters. I think it's perfectly sounding and very pure tone. The specific trick we made with this watch, because it's water resistant.
Okay.
And it's a classical repeater where you do with the slide activating, and that's always a bit tricky. That was the biggest challenge. And waterproof, if you make a watch waterproof, you work with rubber joints, gaskets.
Yeah.
What do rubber things do? They absorb.
Of course,
And that's not what you want. That was the biggest challenge. And we have a 3-piece enamel dial, and I'm very proud of. We used to make, since a couple of years, enamel dials, but we never managed to do the printing. And now we've managed. We worked the last 2 years. The team worked to get it done. We say printing of dials, that's done. But for an enamel dial, you not only print, because if you only print, you wipe it off afterwards, but you need to burn it. And there you have to find the right mix of the pigmentation and the enamel, because the black printing is also a mixture of enamel and pigmentation, so colors. So yeah, I'm very happy with the results. So and it's really nicely sounding. It's really not too fast, not too slow, but you really enjoy the sound of the watch. I'm very happy with it. It's the ultimate stealth complication. It's really perfect.
Very elegant indeed,
Yeah.
for sure. And is it going to be part of the collection, or is it going to be a limited edition version?
Yeah, this is a limited edition of 50 watches.
50 watches.
Yeah.
So I guess there are going to be 50 people, more than 50 people fighting a lot for this one. I don't know how you're going to handle that.
You know, and then there I'm happy I'm not a sales guy, to be honest. You of course you never know how a new product will be received, but it's really the case. The first days, the guys like, oh, why only 50? I say, hey, tell that to watchmakers have to build them. That's the other side of the line. So,
of course.
So that is but. You know what happens in the future.
Yes.
You know?
And is it still, you use still the same kind of technique, meaning that it's one watchmaker that takes care of it from A to Z?
Yeah, always.
Always,
Yeah,
okay,
it's also the best way to go with complications.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's a lot of interaction between the different stages of the complication. So if you split that up in different watchmakers, it's no mass production. So.
No, for sure not. Okay, let's move on a little bit and let's go more on the sportier side. And this time you really went sportier, because after the launch of the Odysseus, this time you took it. This extra little bit sportier with the use of titanium.
You know, this is my 18th year at Lange, and I'm not nervous anymore. Not out of arrogance when launching a new product, but I can tell you I was quite nervous in October 2019 when we launched the Steel Odysseus. And it was very polarizing.
I remember.
In fact, the polarization is the biggest compliment you can get, because it means there's a lot of emotion involved in the things you do.
Opinion,
And you learn the most from criticism, not from everybody saying, oh, gorgeous, 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 and you say thank you, but okay. And it was very exciting, and we were completely overwhelmed by the success, because originally the concept to make this watch is for collectors who tell me, Tony, I have 15 Lange watches, but not the watch for the most precious time of the year. For my holidays. I'm not going to jump into the water with my Zeitwerk and the datograph. No, you better not.
No.
The strap wouldn't like it. I never understood the link. Alligator straps, alligators swim in the water, but as soon as you make straps of them, they don't like water anymore. I don't. This is not logic. No, but that was we were really surprised by wow. And a couple of months later, we all entered the COVID situation, pandemic, and we had discussions what to do. Are we going to launch novelties or not? Since the first press documentations already went out, we said we go for it, but we do it, of course, digitally. And we launched the white gold version. And why did we launch so soon after we launched the steel? We wanted to state clear that Lange Odysseus is our 6 product family, and we are serious with it. So it's not only the steel lonesome watch, it's also in precious material. And there again, a new material, caoutchouc rubber straps. Oh my God, Lange and rubber straps. Oh my God. And of course, we have been already working on titanium, and there it was quite a challenging thing to use the titanium, the third new material at Lange. We wanted to change a little bit the finishing. Normally, when you see titanium watches, you do, there's sandblasted. But you can blast with more materials than sand. And we had a huge experimentation, because if you do sandblasting titanium, it looks almost black, gray and dead. And we wanted to create a real satin surface, like very smooth. So you have that sporty, but also the perfect mix with the elegance and the luxury. So we did the blasting of the bracelet and the case. It goes seamless into each other. And but then he said, we need the elements, like with our bridges in the movement. You need some anglage, some beveling, some chamfering. And then we started to disassemble the whole bracelet. So imagine all the little links of the bracelet are disassembled again, and each link have a perfect 45 degrees angle, like in our movement with our bridges, and then assembled again. In fact, that will probably be the reason why it's a limited edition of 200 watches, because can you imagine? It's enough.
You don't want your people to go totally crazy.
Yeah, but it is really gorgeous. Yeah. And once we found out the finishing of that bracelet, we said, okay, what color are we going to play with? Because for us it's new. Titanium, steel, the steel looks it's harder, bigger contrast, the darker blue and the steel. And this is, we found, it's called ice blue. And it fits beautiful to the satin surface of the bracelet. And again, because in the steel watch has the blue dial, it has a certain structure on the dial. The white gold has even a different structure. And we found another structure for the titanium one. And we tricked a little bit the eye. It looks like the hour markers are someone had pressed them into the material. It's not true, of course, but it looks like. So maybe the detail shots will reveal the secret. Maybe. And of course, it's the same movement as the Odysseus. This is 50 hours power reserve. Only movements which run at 4 heads at Lange is the Odysseus movements. Big weekday, big date. 120 meters waterproof, and I mean not 120 meters in length. It's depth. Just to be sure. Screwed on crown with a crown protection. We have crown protection, but it's fitted in the middle part. The half included push pieces for the day, and it's a perfect watch. It's a really, and it's a bit lighter than the steel. It's heavy. No, the steel is 148 grams, and the titanium is 104 grams. So it's just a little bit lighter.
Okay, very nice. And I mean, you know that I appreciate so much the Lange one, and then you've come with a kind of a little modernized version of it. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, we wanted to differentiate a little bit more towards the regular Lange one, which has a diameter of 38.5. And in 2012, we introduced the first Grand Lange one with a dedicated movement, because in 2002 we've launched a Grand Lange one which had the normal Lange one movement in, and that was at that time a tryout. How people would react to bigger watches, we didn't know at that time. And we said we're gonna try to refine, and that's a bit dangerous because people see the as well, the Lange ones, the Grand Lange ones, are an iconic piece, so you better carefully touch. And we said, can we just refine, make it not slimmer, because we're not going to go. We have good colleagues who are making the best, thinnest watches in the world. That's not our task. But we wanted to play with it. So we said, we're not going to touch the movement, but we're going to change. So we changed the bezel. We opened the ouverture a little bit. We gave it more oxygen, like we call it. We worked with a frosted dial surface around to highlight the sub-dials. Mm-hmm. And normally, the angles of the sub-dials towards the main dial are quite steep, very sharp. And now we angled it a little bit. We reduced the thickness of each hour marker, applique, by half. And we changed a little bit the movement. The hour wheel and the minute wheel are slightly slower. So instead of 8.8 millimeters, we are now at 8.2 millimeters. Only 0.6 millimeters. For a huge watchmaker, that's huge, actually. And that watch, because sometimes in development, even we have a surprise, because you work on computer screens and you print it out and you say, okay, we're going to go and we order this as a prototype. Different prototypes. And as soon as the prototypes came, the watch looks really different. It's amazing. It's really good, and it's pink gold with grey dial, and white gold with grey dial, and it's not limited edition, but it's really it's differentiating completely, and I'm happy with the result. Very happy.
Excellent. Congratulations. It was lovely seeing you again, Tony, and looking forward for a new show, but not even maybe elsewhere. Who knows?
Who knows? And I'm happy, and the ambience at the Watches and Wonders is so cool because everybody is so happy to see and touch in real. You don't have a window around. I can touch you. That's cool. Or touch you. No, maybe.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much, Tony. Bye.
Thank you.